Stephanie Kelton, The Deficit Myth, Modern Monetary Theory and the Birth of the People's Economy. Dive into the intriguing world of modern monetary theory, MMT, with Stephanie Kelton's The Deficit Myth, Modern Monetary Theory and the Birth of the People's Economy. This book will challenge your understanding of conventional economics, dispel myths about government budgets, and reveal that federal governments with monetary sovereignty possess greater flexibility than we think. Discover how MMT can reshape fiscal policies, tackle pressing issues like unemployment and climate change, and redefine our perception of wealth and deficits. With an engaging and accessible style, The Deficit Myth offers an enlightening perspective on harnessing the power of MMT for the greater good.
Why the government shouldn't budget like a household. The modern monetary theory argues that the federal government should not budget like a household. The government has monetary sovereignty, which means it can make money, unlike a family which must earn or borrow it. The traditional taxing and borrowing precedes spending model is not applicable to the government because it can spend first before collecting taxes and borrowing. The spending before taxing and borrowing model should be followed instead. However, the government needs to consider inflation when creating budgets. Rethinking budgeting. In Deficit Spending Doesn't Matter, but Inflation Does, the author explores the concept of modern monetary theory, MMT, as a new approach to fiscal policy. Unlike the traditional economic model that stresses the importance of keeping a balanced budget, MMT argues that governments should focus on using spending and taxing as tools to build balanced economies. The government should spend freely on infrastructure and jobs programs when necessary but carefully monitor inflation. MMT's ideology suggests that running a deficit is not inherently good or bad since governments can't really go broke. Therefore, large government spending programs are actually very beneficial, even if they cause deficits, such as the $787 billion fiscal stimulus bill, which helped kickstart the markets after the 2008 financial crisis. On the other hand, the government must ensure that the inflation stays under control by raising taxes and fixing the price of labor through federally funded job guarantees. The underlying idea is to move away from traditional deficit-dominated views, where deficits are evil and a balanced budget is good, and towards populist-led spending with a focus on complete employment and low inflation models. The truth about the national debt. The national debt clock in Manhattan displays a staggering figure that seems like a looming disaster, but the truth is, the growing national debt does not pose an actual threat to the economy. Politicians often hype the national debt as justification for cutting back on government spending, but the national debt is not the same as your household debt. It comes from the government's sale of U.S. Treasury bonds, which accrue interest and are counted as debt. Modern monetary theory views the national debt as a measure of a specific type of asset available in the private sector. Eliminating or significantly reducing the national debt may not be necessary, as each time the government has done so in the past, it has led to a recession. Rethinking deficit spending. Government deficits, far from being a national crisis, can actually work to our economic benefit. This runs contrary to the crowding out theory that argues deficit spending takes money away from the private sphere, slowing economic growth. The author challenges this myth by using a simple analogy with buckets. When the government runs a balanced budget, the total water in the economy is stagnant, proportionally divided between the public and private sectors. However, if the government runs a deficit and injects additional water into the private bucket, it can leave more wealth in the economy. This benefits everyone but only if the government invests in universal spending programs rather than focusing on specific sectors. Deficit spending should, therefore, be embraced as an opportunity to enhance collective wealth. The sustainability of entitlement programs. In the United States, social programs such as Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid are often targeted by right-wing politicians who claim they are too expensive and unsustainable. However, modern monetary theory, MMT, has shown that all entitlement programs are sustainable as they are paid for in U.S. currency and can always be funded by the federal government. The real limits lie in political will and the economy's productive capacity. Current funding schemes for entitlement programs can create artificial constraints, but the government could easily pass laws committing to fund these programs no matter what. The key to sustainability lies in ensuring that the economy has adequate productive capacity in investing in resources like training more doctors, building more hospitals, and funding more drug research, which will not only benefit citizens but also the economy as a whole. Rethinking trade: what Trump gets wrong. The United States' ongoing trade deficit is a common concern among the American population, and even more so for President Donald Trump. However, trade deficits aren't necessarily a bad thing, and Trump's proposed solution of tariffs and trade wars only hurts the economy. The real problem lies in the loss of domestic industry and employment due to excessive spending on foreign goods. Instead of focusing on reducing prices through cutting labor costs and regulations, the government should implement a federal jobs guarantee program to improve the quality of life for workers. By pouring more water into the domestic bucket, the economy can remain strong and competitive even during trade deficits. The key message here is, international trade doesn't have to be a matter of winning or losing, and there are better solutions beyond the outdated thinking of winning at trade. The real deficits in America. Imagine being an economist full of idealistic hopes of helping the government find smart solutions to the country's problems. But when you arrive in Washington, you realize that no one wants to listen to your advice, and all the politicians can talk about is the budget deficit. The author proposes that to refocus priorities, politicians should focus on the actual deficiencies that exist in the real economy. This includes deficits in jobs, savings, healthcare, education, infrastructure, and planning for climate change. The author believes that MMT can provide some solutions to these problems, but it won't be a cure-all. MMT and its bold approach to economic development. The modern monetary theory, MMT, enables society to direct resources towards its desired outcomes by prioritizing outcomes and easing the tensions around costs. The United States government as a monetarily sovereign currency issuer can make more money. Thus, the MMT offers more visionary and bolder approaches to solving problems. On May 25, 1961, President Kennedy declares the United States will put a man on the moon within 10 years, knowing that achieving this vision will require a vast amount of resources, productive power of industry, and the labor of countless people. Kennedy does not worry about finding the money to implement this vision but instead concentrates on the goal, enabling him and the government to identify how to direct the needed resources accordingly. This can be likened to the modern monetary theory, MMT, where society concentrates on the desired objectives and directs resources towards them. As a monetarily sovereign currency issuer, the United States government can always make more money and not worry about finding it. The only constraints around spending are productive capacity, inflation, and collective vision. By adopting an MMT approach to budgeting, society can implement more visionary and bolder approaches to solving problems that may seem impossible to finance. The MMT philosophy offers two examples of such visionary ideas: instituting a federal jobs guarantee and using MMT to combat climate change. The federal jobs guarantee eliminates poverty by creating job opportunities for those who want to work. Communities could hire labor to build necessary infrastructure and provide care, creating a stronger and more stable economy. In addition, MMT can be used to mitigate climate change by buying and decommissioning outdated high-emissions infrastructures, creating an avenue for renewable energy investment and funding green technology research. Overall, MMT shifts focus to prioritizing outcomes and eases tensions around costs, allowing society to direct resources towards any target. The government can produce more money, and as a society, the burden lies on us to decide how we spend it.
Stephanie Kelton's The Deficit Myth opens the door to a new understanding of economics, showing that governments need not be constrained by budgets like households. Enlighten yourself about modern monetary theory, MMT, and its potential for reshaping fiscal policies, addressing unemployment, climate change, and social welfare. By debunking misconceptions about government spending, Kelton empowers readers with knowledge about government's potentially unlimited currency issuance power and ways it can be utilized effectively to improve society and the economy. Remember, the real deficits that matter are in the real world, and with MMT, the economy can become what we collectively envision.